The air in here cuts like a blade. Freezing, still. No fire left, no mercy either. You breathe in, and it scrapes down your throat like dry wood. No warmth, just smoke from a fire that died yesterday, or maybe the day before. I stopped counting. The straw's damp beneath me. It stinks of sweat, mold, and old smoke. Feels like sleeping in a dead man's beard. My fingers don't move right. My feet gave up during the night. This is medieval survival. No heater, no medicine, no one coming through that door. I'm Thomas. I live in Brimley Hollow. Used to live with Martha, my wife. She didn't make it past the second winter. Fever took her. Cold finished the rest. I've been talking to shadows ever since. Now it's just me and him. The thing squirming under my ribs. Whisker. A rat. Gray. Too clever. Smells like mildew and piss. Not a pet, not a friend. Just another warm body that hasn't abandoned me. Yet. But then I saw something tucked behind the firewood. A scrap of cloth. Embroidered. Faded. Torn. But I recognized it. Martha's threadwork. Her last piece. It shouldn't be here. I buried it with her. So either I'm losing my mind, or something, or someone, brought it back. He shifts like he owns the place. I don't move. Not unless that drip from the ceiling lands in my mouth. You think you could survive this? A day like mine? Alone? They say a good man rises with the sun. Here in Brimley Hollow we rise with the cold. Because the cold doesn't wait for sunlight. It comes in first, kicks you in the ribs, and dares you to stay in bed. It must have been around 5 in the morning, though I've never owned a clock. My bones were already up before my mind caught up. First job of the day, water. Always water. The bucket outside was solid again. A chunk of ice so thick it could serve at a funeral. It's been 5 days since I heard it splash. Now it just thuds. Heavy. Lifeless. Like everything else out here. I gave it a nudge with my boot. It didn't even blink. Snow was my next option. I scraped some off the windowsill, the bits the wind hadn't dirtied. Packed it into my hands, shoved it under my cloak. Let my armpits try their best. Primitive heating system, I suppose. Not recommended. Chills you from the inside out. The snow stung my skin like little needles. My whole chest shivered like it was trying to spit the cold back out. But eventually, a drop. Maybe 2. That's breakfast. The hut stinks of damp wool and the ghost of smoke. The kind of smell that seeps into your skin and tells you, without mercy, that you're still alive. Somewhere near the rafters, the frost has started melting, just enough to form drips. I once caught one in my mouth and nearly gagged. Mold. Or rat urine. Not sure which. Could have been both. Water here isn't clean. It's not fresh. It's just less frozen than death. And funny thing is, I don't even remember the last time I felt clean. Or warm. Or proud. All I know is that the thirst never ends. It just changes shape. You ever melted snow with your own body just to feel the burn in your throat? If you've done worse just to drink, go on. Tell me. Make me feel like I'm not the only mad one. Because after water comes breakfast. And trust me, water was the easy part. They call it breakfast. But what I'm holding doesn't deserve a name. It's the same bowl of broth I've been nursing for 3 mornings now. The water's darker, thicker, more desperate. Less soup, more surrender. I scoop it out of the clay pot with fingers that barely bend. Each spoonful jiggles like old meat jelly, except there's no meat, and it never jiggles right. The top has a thin skin now, like it's trying to become something else. Something worse. It smells like ash, like mold, like something that lived once and gave up halfway. There's a piece of turnip floating near the edge. Soft, gray, and somehow chewy and slimy at the same time. It tastes like the memory of food, the idea of survival. Not survival itself. I eat it slowly, not because I'm savoring it, because my throat doesn't trust it anymore. Whisker watches from across the room. His ears twitch when I move the spoon. He's smart, that rat. Smarter than me, maybe. He knows when I'll share. He knows when I'm too hungry to pretend I'm not. He edges closer. His claws click softly on the wooden floor. No fear. No shame. There's a piece of root stuck to the rim of the bowl. I see it. He sees it. I blink first. I push it toward him. And there it goes. My last excuse for dignity. Chewed up by a rat with better instincts than most kings I've met. I should feel something. Pride. Pity. Disgust. But I don't. There's nothing left to feel. That was breakfast. And if that was the best part of the day, well, fed. Sort of. Now it's time to open the door. And tell me, would you let a rat eat first if it meant you'd eat it all? The door doesn't open. It resists like a coffin lid that knows what's waiting outside. I shove my shoulder into it. Slow, grinding pressure. And the hinges scream like something dying. Or something refusing to die. That sound, it echoes through my ribs. Through my knees. Through the nail that's been loose in my left boot. Since last harvest. The cold hits me before the wind does. It leaks in first. Thin. Sharp. Curious. Then the full weight of the air slams into my face like a wet plank dipped in frostbite. Outside, everything's white. Not soft, pretty white. This isn't a painting. This is the kind of white that blinds, bites, eats the color off your skin. The ground crunches like bones underfoot. My breath curls out in clouds that vanish too. Fast, like even the air doesn't want to stay near me. And then, the smell. It's faint at first. But it's there, like meat left too long in the cellar, something dead nearby, or dying slowly. Could be a fox, could be a neighbor. Hard to say this time of year. The snow reflects everything but warmth. I look down, and the reflection looking back is a ghost in a ragged cloak. That's me, apparently. I adjust the belt that barely holds my tunic closed. My fingers don't feel the leather. Just pressure. Just the memory of what fingers used to do before the frost made them stupid. I should go back inside. I don't. Because I need firewood. And if I come back empty-handed, I'll be spooning. Whisker again. He kicks in his sleep. Still here? Then like this video. Most people would have quit before the door opened. And if you're the kind that walks forward anyway, subscribe. We haven't even hit the hard part. Now come on. Tell me, would you walk out into this kind of cold, knowing it could be the last time your door opens behind you? The woods never lie. If they're quiet, something's wrong. And this morning, they were silent. No wind, no birds. Just me, the crunch of snow beneath my feet, and the sound of my own breath wheezing like a broken bellows. Every step I took cracked through the ice crust, echoing too loud. Like the forest was listening. I held what used to be a shovel. Now it's just a broken handle with a metal edge, rusted and blunt. I use it like a claw, scraping, digging. Not for treasure, just for twigs that haven't frozen into the earth yet. My fingers are stiff, wrapped in linen scraps and prayer. I can't feel the tips. That's never good. But I keep going. You stop moving, you stop warming. You stop warming, you stop mattering. Somewhere to the left a branch snapped. Not under me. I froze. Could be a fox, could be a deer, could be something hungry, or worse, something smart. I didn't turn my head, didn't breathe. The snow pressed around my boots like it wanted me to stay. I didn't want to stay. Every tree looked the same. Black veins rising into a sky the color of old milk. I could have walked into a trap and never known. Would have died standing up, but I found some wood. Not much. Just enough to trick the fire into believing I still cared. One armload. Damp. Bark peeling like skin. But it was mine. I hauled it back through the quiet. No one followed. At least, not loud enough to hear. Wood gathered. Fingers slightly frostbitten. Let's talk fire. Or failure. Would you walk into a silent forest with frostbitten hands, a broken shovel, more rust than tool, and the feeling that something out there is smarter and hungrier than you? Making fire in winter isn't a skill. It's a war. And today, I lost the first 3 battles. The flint sparked, the tinder smoked, but nothing caught. I huffed on it like a dying man whispering for help. All I got was a face full of ash and one more reminder that I don't run this world. The cold does. I tore up the last bit of dry moss, mixed it with straw, Added some of the dried dung I'd been saving for this exact moment. Yes, saving it. Not for fuel, for hope. There's nothing more humbling than praying over frozen cow turds while a rat watches. Fourth time. Spark, breath, flame. Just a flicker, but enough. It grew, hesitant, flickering like it was afraid to be seen. I shielded it with my hands like a treasure. My fingers were cracked and gray from the cold, but I held on. The fire crackled. The smoke curled up into the rafters, stinging my eyes and throat with a smell that was equal parts relief, manure, and misery. Whisker sat in the corner, chewing something that looked suspiciously like one of my glove fingers. He stared at me like I'd taken too long, like he would have done it faster, and maybe he would have. Because out here, survival doesn't care if you're human, just that you're still breathing. With a tiny fire and a bruised ego, let's fix some clothes, and maybe my dignity. But before we go, would you trust your life to smoke, straw, and the memory of warmth, knowing it might be the last fire you ever start? There's a tear in the side of my tunic. Not big. Just enough to let the wind slide in and remind me what failure feels like. One thread at a time. I pull out the needle. It's bone. Old. Carved from a pig rib during the last slaughter. Not exactly tailor's tools, but it does the job if I squint hard enough and don't bleed too much on the fabric. The thread is wool, if you can call it that. It's more like a tired string of dust clinging to hope. The kind of thread that snaps if you look at it wrong. I push the needle through. The cloth resists. It's stiff from smoke, from frost, from months of wear without mercy. It smells like me, and I don't smell good. The rhythm of sewing is slow. Pull, tighten, breathe, repeat. That's when I think of her. Martha. She used to sew better, straighter, cleaner. She'd hum while she worked. Not songs. Just soft notes like she was filling the silence with something kind. She laughed more too. At me. At the world. At the way I couldn't thread a needle without cursing. And now I sit here, stitching a hole in a tunic no one sees but me. With hands she used to hold. Hands that shake more now. Crack more. Feel less. The fire pops. Whisker shifts in his corner. But everything else is still. Outside, the wind howls like it's calling someone who's already gone. Inside, I hold on to this scrap of cloth like it's the last thing connecting me to the warmth she left behind. There's blood on my fingertip now. A drop. Small, but red enough to remind me I'm still here. Speaking of her, I can still hear the echo of their laughter. But you tell me, could you stitch a life back together? With nothing left but bone, ash, and memory? The fire burns low now. Just embers and breath. But there are places around it. They still feel warm. That was Martha's corner by the wall. She always sat closest to the flames. Said it made her think of spring, even when the snow was higher than the doorframe. Next to her, the little one. Barely big enough to hold a spoon, but stubborn enough to steal mine when I wasn't looking. And the eldest, across from me. He always carved patterns into sticks while we waited for soup that never came fast enough. None of them are here now. Haven't been for 3 winters. Fever took one. Hunger took the others. The cold came last, just to make sure I remembered who's in charge. But I still hear them, in the way the fire cracks, in the gaps between the wind. Sometimes I forget and reach for a bowl I didn't fill. Sometimes I catch myself talking, like someone's going to answer. And the worst part? Those memories. They comfort me more than the fire ever could. You ever sit by a fire that wasn't hot enough to warm your hands but still hurt to look at? That's what grief feels like. In a place like this. And if you've ever lost someone, if you've ever held silence too long just to pretend they're still around, go ahead and like this. Not for me, for them. If you made it this far, you've earned your place here. Subscribe. You're one of us now. And yet I'm still here, only to do it all over again tomorrow. Could you eat in silence every night while remembering the voices that used to fill the room? Rats don't knock, they just arrive. Soft feet on old wood, noses twitching, eyes shining like guilt in the firelight. Tonight, it wasn't just Whisker. 3 more slipped in through the crack behind the firewood stack. Thin bodies, sharp tails, moving like shadows that had somewhere better to be. Whisker didn't flinch, didn't squeak, just sat upright, like a rat in church robes. I swear if he had a robe he would have straightened it. The others circled, sniffed, searched. I waved one off with a half-hearted grunt. Another scurried back out, probably unimpressed with the menu. The third stayed. He was bolder, dirtier, his fur patchy, one eye milky white. He looked like something scraped off the bottom of Winter's boot. I watched him. He watched me. We didn't blink. There was half a crust left from yesterday's bread. I held it up, broke off a corner, dropped it on the floor. He took it. No rush, no fear, and something in me relaxed. I guess when you're starving, together, enemies become roommates, and silence turns into a kind of company. This hut has no warmth left in the walls, no softness in the air, just frost and wood smoke and the quiet sound of tiny claws clicking across the floor like a broken lullaby. And yet, this is the most company I've had in weeks, maybe even months. Sometimes I wonder, if I stopped breathing, how long would it take before the rats noticed? And how many would stay? If I get eaten tonight, at least it'll be by something familiar. But before that, would you share your last crumb? With a rat, just to not eat alone? Night doesn't fall out here. It sinks. Heavy. Slow. Like wet wool being draped over your whole world. The fire is a whisper now, barely clinging to the last scraps of wood I dared to burn. Smoke curls up into the thatch, thick and sour, carrying the scent of ash, damp straw, and whatever part of me is rotting slower than the rest. I lie down. The floor is unforgiving, cold through the ribs, splinters against the spine. My cloak is a joke. It smells like mildew and old fear. I wrap it tighter anyway. Outside, there's nothing but darkness and the distant scream of wind clawing through the trees. Maybe wolves. Maybe just the wind pretending to be something worse. Inside, there's me, and the kind of silence that only comes after the last voice in your life stops answering back. I stare at the ceiling. It stares back. My thoughts scatter, loud, messy, hungry. They chase themselves in circles until I forget whether I'm praying, remembering, or just waiting for the cold to finish what the winter started. Whisker shifts near my feet. His tiny breaths are the only proof there's still warmth somewhere in this hut. But it's not mine. It's his now. The fire pops. My heart skips. Just a coal breaking. But in the dark, every sound feels personal. And no matter how many layers I pull around me, nothing keeps out the regret. You think cold is what breaks people? It's not. It's the quiet. It's the wondering who'll find your body, if anyone will. But what really gets you is what happens between dreams. So answer me this. Would you lie down in the dark knowing no one's coming, and still find the courage to close your eyes? Midnight doesn't arrive like a bell toll. It leaks in, slow, silent, patient, and when it's finally here, it presses down with a weight no blanket can fight. The fire's dead now, just ash and faint orange beneath the soot. The smoke stopped hours ago. The air inside the hut is colder than outside because at least out there, something's alive. And then, crack. Not wood, not shifting beams. Something outside. A sharp snap, like bone underfoot. Close. I stop breathing. Not because I'm scared, but because my body forgets how. Whisker's head lifts, ears twitching. He's not brave. He's honest. That's worse. I listen, eyes wide in the dark, hands gripping the edge of the cloak like it's armor. Nothing. No second sound. That's what makes it worse. The cold creeps up again. Not in waves. It slithers. Through the floorboards. Through the gaps in the wall. Through me. My feet hurt. Then they go numb. Then they hurt again. That cycle has a name. Frostbite. But it's not the cold that wakes you in a night like this. It's the feeling that someone, or something, has noticed you still exist. A whisper of breath outside the wall. Not wind. Not animal. It's the kind of night where the dark feels intelligent, and you start to wonder, will they bury me, or will the snow do it first? making it through the night. That's a skill, and apparently I still have it. But tell me, would you close your eyes again after hearing death whisper your name from the other side of the wall? The light creeps in slow, pale, weak, the kind of gray that doesn't warm, doesn't promise anything. It just shows you what survived the night, and what didn't. My breath fogs in the still air, rising like steam from a cracked pot. Whisker sits by the ashes, licking his paw with the confidence of a king who's won a war he didn't fight. Good for him. I shift under the cloak. Every joint aches like it's been borrowed from someone older. My back pops. My ribs sting. I'm still here. But let's not confuse that with victory. There's no triumph in waking up. Not here. Just the familiar ache of, again, another day, another round, another long march through hunger, cold, and silence. I survived the wolves outside, the ghosts inside, the dark that tried to press through my skin. But surviving isn't really living. It's waiting, enduring, endless. Tomorrow, it all begins again. So tell me, do you still think you'd last even one day? If you made it this far, you've proven yourself. But survival's not a one-time test. Subscribe now and walk with those who endure. Comment below. What would you have done differently, or not at all? Click like if you believe this kind of knowledge still matters, because it does. Share this before it's lost again. Let someone else remember what it takes to live with nothing. The next test is coming. Hit the next video and keep going, or stay behind.